What's up,
Although,
Till? With iomos Marat. What's up, Io?
what up, Till? What's going
Hey,
on, my brother?
hey, man, just living well on a Tuesday night, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I can't complain.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You been listening to some dope hip hop music lately, man?
I haven't, man. I was out of town. I was back in Chicago visiting my
Yeah.
family, so I've been out of the loop.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's good to be
Yes,
back home, I'm
sir.
sure.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Absolutely,
Had a good time,
absolutely.
I assume.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful, man. Just spending time with my mother, being able to chop it up with her was good. It was
Yeah.
good.
Well, good,
Yeah,
man. Glad to
yeah,
hear. Glad to hear. Well, I know it's getting late, so we won't stay on too long. But
no doubt.
I did want to ask you about this album. Um, I'm just gonna put it on the screen. I'm
Okay.
not gonna ask you to do the one word where you just can only describe in one word. We can chat about it a
Uh,
little bit. But here's
all
the
right.
album right here. Boom.
Yeah.
Straight out the jungle
Yeah,
by
man.
Jungle Brothers. What's
Absolutely.
what's this picture conjure up for you?
It man, it just bring me back to when I was like young and didn't really know what I wanted to do in
Mm,
life. I had no clue what I wanted to do, and my cousin Leon Rogers, who lived around the block from me, he was the one who introduced me to this album because I was walking to his house and he had all the doors open and the windows open of the house, and this was banging out of his system.
mm.
And the first song I heard as I was walking to his door was Straight Out the Jungle,
Straight out the jungle.
and it just blew my mind, man. Like listening to what they were saying, the style of the album, just everything, man. It was just amazing. So every time I see this album cover, I always think back to that day. You know what I'm saying? And that was my introduction to Tribe, and then
Mm.
De La, and then that whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So yeah, that album cover conjures. I mean, it brings a lot. I hold that album dear to my heart, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a dope album.
It is a dope
Yeah,
album, man. And I'm glad
yeah,
you brought up Tribe because I
yeah.
remember, I feel like I heard their second album first. Maybe I heard some
Okay.
singles, but I remember hearing, I think I heard Tribe first, but then I remember going back and hearing this album. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Q-Tip is on here, and just
Right,
making all
right.
those as a young kid, making
Yeah,
all those connections. Like, oh, okay,
yeah.
native tongues. That's what they're talking about. Starting to
Right.
hear, and with
Yeah.
native tongues being my favorite, collective of all time, I would say De La is my favorite group. Tribe's
Mine
probably my
too.
second favorite group.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's cool, that this kind of set it off, this album.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
kind of
That was
holds
the
a
start
special
of the
place.
movement. That
Yeah,
was the start of the movement. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said it or profound, but to be a fly on the wall during some of those recording sessions back then.
I would have loved to be a part of that.
Man, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
man. And the cool thing is like these guys, they're still around too. I don't know if you heard
Yeah.
they just had a single came out like I don't
Oh,
know, two,
really?
yeah, Jungle Brothers called Fire. And it
Okay.
kind of has that kind of throwback feel to it. Yeah,
That's what's up.
it's dope. It's dope. So
Yeah.
so so you heard this album, kind of fell in
Yeah.
love with it.
Yeah.
Um do you remember the impact it had, not on you individually because you kind of talked about that, but like
Yeah.
did it have impact on where you were at the time? Cuz you Chicago at this time, right?
Yeah, Chicago, yeah. Not to those who were in tune with this style of music, yeah,
Mhm.
it made an impact. But Chicago is weird because you had cats that listen to gangster rap, you had cats that listen to East Coast, and then that was pretty much it. You was either gangster or you was either like boom bap. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And so for those who listen to boom bap, I think this album made a huge impact on them. But for those who are more into like gangster rap, it probably didn't really. Because I remember at school getting into debates or arguments with cats about why I don't listen to gangster rap, gang so quote unquote gangster rap, as
Right.
opposed to listening to like the native tongues or whatever. And I always say like, I'm not no, what I'm saying, I'm not affiliated with any gang. So this is the type of music they speaking about, the type of things that I'm interested in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. But yeah, to answer your question, to those that was in tune with this style of music, I believe it made an impact.
Hmm.
But the majority of people in Chicago, they was more into listening to like gangster rap. You know what I'm saying?
When you think
So
about, yeah, were you about to say something? Sorry.
no, 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 no. I was done.
When you think about the native tongues, the
Yeah,
collective,
yeah.
if you had to give somebody like the three albums that if you're gonna listen to three native tongue albums, you have to listen to these three.
Yeah.
What would you give them tonight? It might change
Uh,
tomorrow, but tonight.
Straight out the jungle for sure. Low end theory
Mm,
or Midnight Marauders. Either one of them. Those are interchangeable.
yeah, yeah, I feel that.
Um, Man, I'm trying to pick which Daylight because I love all those Daylight albums from 3 Feet High and Rising to, you know. But I would say Balloon Mind State,
Mm,
the Balloon Mind
yeah,
State by Daylight. So
why that one?
yeah,
I'm glad you said that one though.
I don't know, man. That it took me a while to catch on because when I first
Yeah,
heard it, I was like, "What are they doing?" And then when I sat and listened to it, I was like, "Oh man, this is on another level, man." You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, man.
it was just on a whole nother level. And it just showed where De La and where Native Tongue was um, at the
Hmm.
time. But I think Balloon Mind State was when they were at odds with one another. You know what I'm saying? Because he was making
Hmm.
that vocal.
Yeah,
Paz was making that very vocal. He was very vocal about what was going on
yeah,
with Native Tongue at the time. So, but yeah, Balloon Mind State for
yeah.
sure.
I would have said that one too. I love that album.
I love that
I think
album,
that's De
man.
La's best album personally,
Yeah,
but
genius,
I love it.
genius, bro.
I think
Yeah,
I would have said Low End Theory or Midnight Marauders. I think you're right. I think those are pretty
yeah,
interchangeable.
yeah.
And then I'm so complex, man. I need to rephrase the question to four albums because I would have done I would have picked Done by the Forces of Nature by Jungle
Okay,
Brothers because
I like that's a dope album too.
I love that album. And I feel like that
Yeah.
album, like Straight Out the Jungle, like to me is more raw. Like the
Hmm.
production, the essence of it is raw. Whereas Done
Yeah.
by the Forces of Nature is a little bit more feel good. I
Yeah.
think it's mixed a little bit better. So I think it's like kind of preference of what you prefer. I'm not necessarily sure one's better than the other, but just it's a
Right.
different vibe.
Yeah. Definitely.
But then how? So that would probably be my three. But how would I leave out Wolf in Sheep's Clothing by Black Sheep? I mean that
Yeah, you
album is
can't leave
just
that out. Yeah,
monstrous.
that album is amazing. Yeah,
Man,
absolutely,
man, that
absolutely.
album. That's one of my favorite. That's one of my personal
For real.
favorite albums of all time. I
Yeah,
love that album.
I would have to agree with you on that too.
Yeah.
I often find myself going back to listen to that album
Yeah, me too. The
a
production
lot.
on there, the
Yeah.
production on there, and I will stand by this statement. I think Drez had the best delivery of any of the
Mm,
like Pasta News. I think you can make a case for Pasta News because he has
yeah,
such a
yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
type of flow. It's very different.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Drez is right there, if not in front of him, next to him, right behind him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Drez was just so slick.
Yeah, he
The,
was, man. He was.
the way he used inflection. He would just
Yeah.
like his verses sounded like he had so many lines and bars that like you remembered because it just sounded so slick. I remember
Exactly.
Jay-Z talking about that where he talked about how he would write a verse and he would know, well, he wouldn't write, but he would think up the verse and he
Hmm.
would know which lines in the verse would be the lines that people would recite. He had that
Okay.
foresight. And I feel that way
Wow.
with Drez. Like he had so many lines, just the way he said them, it's like you remember
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
slick how he said them. So
Yeah.
anyway,
My favorite song off that album is Flavor of the Month, man. Just
yeah.
for that's the way the sample, the
Yeah.
drums. I'm like, man, like that joint crazy, man.
Yeah,
That song's
man.
so dope.
That whole album, man.
Yeah, that album is dope, bro. For real.
Yeah,
For
no
real.
doubt. Before we
Yeah.
go, shout out to Marcus that said yo on Facebook. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace, peace,
And
peace.
Marcus, man, let us know what your how you feel about this album right here, Straight Out the Jungle,
No
by
doubt.
Jungle Brothers. This now, Io, is this your favorite album of all time?
I would say it's one of my
One
favorite
of them.
albums of
Okay.
all time. That was a pivotal that album was very pivotal for me.
Yeah.
Um and it really kind of like reinvigorated my love for hip hop. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like I never lost love for it, but this album gave me more, I should say it gave me more focus about the style or the type of hip hop I was looking for.
Okay.
This was that for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely say this is one of my favorite albums. Man, my cousin gave me the cassette tape. He let me borrow the cassette tape. Because
Yeah.
my mission when I heard this cassette tape was not to leave his house without this tape. Said so
Y'all.
he let me borrow the tape, man, and I held it hostage, and he had to come to my house and threaten me, like, give me my tape, bro. So I gave him the tape back, and then I begged my mother to buy me the tape. She bought me the tape, and I listened to that tape so much, the lettering off the cassette had rubbed off. The tape broke. I opened up the cassette, fixed it. You know what I'm saying? That's how much I listened to that album, bro. I knew I didn't have to see which side. I didn't need the lettering to know which side was which.
Right,
Like
right.
I just was like so invested in that album,
Man.
man. Like I live with that album, bro.
Yo, that's so cool.
So
It's so
yeah,
interesting, like to learn these parts of you because we're so alike in several hip hop ways. Because I was at my cousin's house and I could not leave there without getting that De La Soul 3 Feet High and Rising album.
I bet.
And he didn't give it to me, but he taped it or
Yeah,
some of it for me. And I don't remember how I got it. No, I think I think it was a holiday or birthday present, but I asked my mom, and finally she got me the tape too.
no
So
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt. Yeah,
native
man.
native tongues, man, such a
Yeah,
profound
all
impact.
day.
Yeah, on so many of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Th-
Native Tongues and Boot Camp Click. Those was the
oh
crews
yeah,
I wanted to be a part of, bro.
yeah, man.
It was Native Tongue and Boot Camp for
Those are
real.
solid crews, solid
Yeah,
crews.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, speaking of native tongues, one of the not offshoots, but I think a group that was I would assume influenced by native tongues. Grap Lover.
Yes.
We're gonna be chatting with him this Thursday. What is
Ooh,
that? Tomorrow
yeah.
night? No, two nights. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
Thursday on the Boom Bap Chat live on everybody's hip hop label on Facebook. Man, I can't wait for that, man.
I can't wait either, man. That's
Yeah,
one of my favorite MCs of all
yeah,
times, man.
man.
Grab Lover, bro.
Yeah,
For real.
yeah.
Brother
So
Grab.
yeah, I can't wait. So get your questions ready, Iomos
No
and
doubt.
everybody
Yeah, I
else
will. Yes,
tuning
sir.
in. And
No
before
doubt.
we get out of here, Marcus says, man, I remember those days playing a cassette so much. Oh, I remember the days playing a cassette so much it breaks. Yeah, no doubt. I remember that.
You had to get that clear tape. And you had to get that like microscopic
No,
screwdriver to get the you know what I'm saying?
I remember like
Yeah.
taking the tape out and like trying to flatten it. Like
Yeah, I
it
remember
just
that
got
too. Would it
crinkled
get
up,
twisted?
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember doing that.
man.
Cassettes, bro. Those was the days, bro.
I like CDs much better, but yeah, cassettes have a special place in my
Yeah.
heart too. So
Nostalgia, yeah, for
yeah, yeah,
sure.
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, cool, Almas. Good to get to know you a little bit better through this incredible album here by the
You
Jungle
too, my
Brothers,
brother.
straight
You
out the
too.
jungle. And
Yes, sir.
there it is. If you all have not heard this album, I know a lot of this is an older album, came out late '80s, and so if you came onto the hip hop scene a little bit later and you never heard this album, do yourself a favor, go and give it a listen. If nothing else,
Yeah.
just to know what was out there before the J. Cole's and Kendrick Lamar's and Sky Zoo's and everyone
Absolutely.
else today. Just know who those guys looked up to.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
for
I,
sure.
I I guarantee you, those guys that I just named, they know this album. and they
Absolutely.
remember when they heard it for the first time.
For
So
sure.
check it out and come on back Thursday. We'll be here chatting with Grap Lover. Until
Yes,
then,
sir.
peace, peace,
Peace,
peace.
y'all. Peace, Marcus. Thanks for tuning in, bro.
Yes, Marcus and Matthew Coop.